Hey friends, Jonathan Saenz here, president and attorney for Texas Values. I want to talk to you about a very important court case that Texas Values opposes and we predict will go down in flames. This is a lawsuit that's been filed by the ACLU and LGBT pressure groups against Senate Bill 14. This is the bill that protects kids from harmful gender transition surgeries, mutilation, puberty blockers, and all kinds of awful things that are used to remove their body parts. I call it junk science. I mean, it's crazy what they're doing to kids in these type of circumstances. And the type of people that are performing them have no idea what they're doing. They're not following any type of ethics. There's really no regulations on this. And that's why Senate Bill 14 was necessary. And what is with the obsession by the left in these liberal LGBT groups to insist that kids have their bodies mutilated over and over? That's what's happening. So the lawsuit's been filed last week in Travis County District Court. Read some notes here. And look, I'm not going to go through some of the factual allegations that the other side has made because they're outlandish, they're untrue, and they're grossly exaggerated. But what you're going to see in these circumstances is the left is going to do everything they can appeal to your heartstrings and talk about parents and kids. They're going to suggest that these kids are all going to kill themselves if they can't cut off parts of their bodies. And it's sad that they're trying to tell kids those are your only options. But this bill is not divided. You've got Republicans and Democrats that supported this legislation. Governor Abbott signed it into law. There are I think over a dozen other states that are doing things similar. Of course, the ACLU and other people have tried to challenge those laws as well. We're not surprised, right? That's a sign that you have a good law when the opposition is trying to sue right away. And this law goes into effect on September 1. But look, this is an important piece of legislation. One of the most important pieces of legislation that was filed and passed this session. But you got to know some of the people that are behind it. I mean, remember some of the testimony? The experts for the other side, one of them was a so-called doctor who couldn't even say what a woman was. She was asked point blank in the House hearing, what is a woman? I don't know how long she went on. She talked about the issue being complicated. Then she was asked, can a man get pregnant? Boom, right away she said yes. I think we've got a graphic where we could show you who this woman was, or at least the behind her as she was testifying in the House hearing. If we've got that graphic, we're going to pull that up. And I was there in the House hearing when all this was playing out. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So let that sink in. The people that want to sue and continue to be obsessed with mutilating the bodies of kids and removing their body parts, they think men can get pregnant. And they don't know what a woman is. And these are the people that you're going to trust, that we're going to trust in the state of Texas to do things the right way and to give right advice and to cut off the body parts, the healthy body parts of kids. This lawsuit is certainly going to lose. And Texas Values will be defending Senate Bill 14 as long as we have to, in court, in the media, wherever it's necessary, because the lives of children are at stake. These operations do not work. If you heard from our radio show, Chloe Cole, teenage young lady who testified on this issue, she's against this type of procedure. She supports Senate Bill 14 because she had to go through this horrible experience where she was being transitioned from a girl to a boy, and she realized this isn't working. It's not helping me. And so, but some things that have happened to her are irreversible. She's likely to never be able to have children naturally. And many of these kids, they end up with medical conditions that are caused by these procedures that remove their healthy body parts that they have to deal with the rest of their lives. And you know what's tragic and absolutely ridiculous is that some insurance companies, they'll give you insurance coverage to cut off healthy body parts of a kid. But when the kid says, I don't want to do this anymore, and now they need medical treatment to deal with the fallout of those transitions, many of the insurance groups, no, we can't insure that. The hypocrisy. And part of this, I believe, many people believe, this is a money-making scheme. They don't care about these kids, right? They see it as an opportunity for revenue. One of the doctors, a week or so before this law went into effect, said, I'm leaving Texas. We're like, bye, good. We don't want you here operating on kids, so to speak, and removing their body parts, jeopardizing their lives, and doing irreversible damage. But look, there was a lot of strength when this bill was in the legislature. A couple of groups that supported it, our good friend Cindy Asmussen from Southern Baptist of Texas Convention, Texas Public Policy Foundation, of course, Texas Values. Partners for Ethical Ethical Care, Texas Faith and Freedom Coalition, our good friend Don Garner, Concerned Parents of Texas, Texas Ethics and Religious Liberty Committee, Medical Institute of Sexual Health, Mass Resistance Texas, Alliance Defending Freedom, and then also on the list, Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops, Texas Eagle Forum, many people from the Republican Party, and as I mentioned, in the House and Senate, you had Republicans and Democrats that were supporting this legislation, and so tremendous support for this. Look, the lawsuits are going to come. The other side said they would as a threat. I guess they're making good on it, but it's not going to be enough. The tide has turned on these issues. So we want you to understand, though, we don't want to take these court cases lightly. We don't just sort of ignore them and not challenge these things in court, right? Some of the things that are alleged here is some of the factual things that are alleged here are just, outrageous. Most boys are designated male at birth based on their external genitalia and anatomy. Most girls are designated as female, but transgender people have a gender identity that differs from their sex assigned at birth. Trans people cannot simply turn off their gender identity. Everyone has a gender identity. All these things that are not true that they try to kind of continue to introduce into our culture, into the conversation. And they don't want to be honest with the fact that the issue of gender dysphoria is not helped by these procedures, these operations, these mutilations, and these puberty blockers. Time and again, the studies are coming out where even so-called medical experts are saying this is not a good idea and it's not working. But some of these people have become, so enmeshed in this issue, it's become a financial issue for them that they don't care. The other thing that's mentioned in this lawsuit, we see it time again. The other side, the left, references a Supreme Court case, the Bostock case for short. It's one of the parties in the case that deals with things related to sexual orientation and gender identity. That is an employment law case. This deals with kids, right? And so sometimes people will ask, well, what about the situation that, what about parental rights being a fundamental right? Texas law does presume that parents have a certain amount of rights to decide what happens to their kids, but they don't have the right to endanger the welfare of a child. There are some limitations to that right, which is good reason. Gender transitioning treatments, that's what happens, right? They are irreversible and they do long-term damage to kids. So Texas is well within its right to say that even if a parent wants the child to do it, it is not healthy, it is not safe, and we're going to protect kids from having these things happen. I mentioned the lawsuit that references the Bostock case. That's easy because that's an employment case, and that's not even applied here, right? But that's what the other side would do. Let's throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. What about physicians, right? They, the rights that they have with their medical licenses and all this kind of stuff. Look, the clinical experience, the medical studies, the statistics all confirm that the treatment, it's not only is it not safe, but it's not effective. It's not effective at resolving these gender dysphoria issues that continue with kids. Also, right, people talk about, well, maybe the doctors have to deal with these things sometimes in certain circumstances. There are some exceptions where these things legitimately come up for an issue related to puberty and so on, the physicians have to follow accurate science and not politics. And science is out the window on this issue for the left. It is all about politics. It is all about emotion. It is all about trying to make people believe that if you don't let them do it, they're going to kill themselves. What a tragic set of options. Let me mutilate my body, let me mutilate my child's body and do irreversible damage, or they're going to kill themselves. As a kid, you realize, oh, that's my only options? That's awful. That is a terrible message, and it doesn't help the kids, and we don't support it. And it's not true, right? There are so many kids that have decided we're not going to do this. They grow out of it later, or they stop the procedures and they realize it's not healthy. But I'm going to tell you, if we don't have a law in place that makes that clear, you cannot rely on the other side to follow any type of ethics. Senator Donna Campbell, who carried this bill in the Senate, talked about this. Representative Tom Oliverson, who carried this bill in the House, talked about this. And people will say, well, the government shouldn't get involved in, this medical field. The government's, creating too many regulations. Let the free market, let these people figure it out on their own. That's typically the case. But when this industry, the medical industry, does not handle their own business and the lives of kids are at stake, that's when it's time for the government and the state to step in. And that's what happened here with Senate Bill 14. So listen, I don't know how this is going to play out right away. I do predict ultimately Senate Bill 14 will be upheld. We may see these things get appealed. And that's the thing. You start to see more of those things come across from different states. Georgia's dealing with this. Tennessee, Kentucky. Do not believe just because someone filed a lawsuit, that means they're going to win, right? Proverbs 18:17 tells us, he who presents his case first seems right until someone steps forth to challenge him, right? So that's what we do. We've got a lot of great information about this on our website. You want to see these talking points, you want to see some history about the law, go to txvalues.org. We're working on a microsite just on this issue, so you can see that information. We'll have information about the lawsuit, the history of the law. And, this issue is coming to people all across the country. So if you're not familiar with it yet, you're likely to see more about it. So please share this video with others. Send it out on an email. Put it up in social media. If you're watching on YouTube, click that little button to subscribe so you can get more videos like this on the content that we do at Texas Values, which includes faith, family, and freedom in Texas. So you can go to our website, txvalues.org, to find out more about our work. If you see value in this work, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Please consider a donation for our work. This is how we get involved in these things. We led this effort to pass Senate Bill 14, along with a number of other very important organizations and individuals. We're not done. We're going to be educating people about how this law works. We're going to let them know that on September 1, it goes into effect, and we're going to work on enforcing it. And we're going to defend the state to help protect these laws when they get challenged, like this one has by the ACLU and Lambda Legal and whatever other LGBT pressure groups are out there. We've been involved in court cases for many years. I've been licensed for 20 years. I've worked on cases at the U.S. Supreme Court, the Texas Supreme Court, and just about every level of court in between. And so this is what we do best. If you got questions about these issues, put them in the comments. Send us an email at info@txvalues.org. Please consider supporting our vital work to protect Texas on the values that make things great here in the state of Texas. So we'll have more updates on our website and on these channels where we'll talk about faith, family, and freedom in Texas.